Foxy is back in an all-new Toxic Avenger film. So today, let's talk about this reboot and see if it's worth your time. A janitor becomes a social outcast when a freak accident at a chemical factory turns him into a mutant. However, he soon uses his newfound superhuman strength to battle slimy criminals and a corrupt CEO. I just recently watched the Toxic Avenger films for the first time, and I was not prepared for those movies. They are absolutely campy. They are insane. They are funny, bloody, gory. And I was really looking forward to watching the Toxic Avenger, the newest one with Peter Dinklage, after watching the previous Toxic Avenger films. I didn't think that this movie would match the atmosphere, the insane camp that those movies had. And I was right. I don't think that this movie reaches what the Toxic Avenger films did. Those were absolutely insane with its comedy, but it came pretty close. Like, it has its more modern approach to camp. Like, it's there and you can tell that they wanted to have fun with it, and it feels like a Toxic Avenger film. I think it's the closest it could be to matching the style of that original film. What this film does right is that it maintains what the Toxic Avenger is about. This person that gets turned into this mutant becomes a Toxic Avenger and fights crime. But in the midst of it all, it's absolutely insane. This film is hilarious, and there is so many corny, campy, silly moments throughout that had me laughing. I think it started off a little more serious, and then it had to progress into that camp. We had to kind of ease into it. We started off with Peter Dinklage's character, and he has his stepson played by Jacob Tremblay. He really is misunderstood. He's struggling to connect with his stepson and struggling to stay afloat. Once he becomes the Toxic Avenger, that progression just becomes sillier and sillier, and it becomes more in line with the Toxic Avenger films as the movie goes along. But I thought that was a great way to establish the film, because you do give it its heart in the beginning of the film. You feel that connection between the two characters, even though they are struggling with the relationship. It's something to root for. It has that purpose in the beginning of the film and establishes a very strong foundation very early on. It allows for them to play around the plot a little bit and implement more of the comedy in here. And for once, the voice of the human character is the same voice as the Toxic Avenger. It really threw me off in the first film, especially when the Toxic Avenger had such a deeper voice for the character. It was really out of left field. But in this film, it maintains that voice, which honestly just makes so much more sense. And Peter Dinklage is really fun in here. Like I said, that more grounded approach in the beginning gives it that more serious tone very early on. But once he becomes the Toxic Avenger, he starts to implement more of the humor, and he's quite funny within this film. Some more subtle moments, just more in-your-face moments as well. The comedy has a wide variety within it to make you laugh. If it's from jokes and puns to violent sequences throughout, the comedy really ramps up as the film goes along. Now, this is a pretty gory film. The fourth film, Citizen Toxie, was very violent, very graphic, a very unnecessary movie at times. I can't wait to talk about that in my ranking. First film was also kind of graphic as well. It's those middle two films, the second and third film, where it really just kind of dived into the comedy, but this film is truly graphic. There are some scenes that really shocked me throughout the film, and a lot of Toxic Avenger fans love that nice balance of violence and comedy. And this film really matched that. It offered up a lot of violent sequences. I also really like the costume design for Toxic Avenger. It feels more realistic compared to the previous Toxic Avenger films. The suit, the makeup is done very well. There's also other characters in here that have to use makeup as well. I think that all works within this movie. And the supporting cast is great in here as well. Kevin Bacon, Elijah Wood, they really ham it up in this film. Elijah Wood reminds me of the Penguin from Batman Returns. It's absolutely insane, but both of them really dive into that campy performance. And that just makes the overall atmosphere of this film very fun. Like I said, it's more serious in the beginning, establishing our plot and our character, but you could tell that everybody had such a good time with this movie, especially Kevin Bacon, who delivers such a cheesy performance. I was afraid very early on that it wouldn't end up being such a campy, really silly film, and I didn't expect it to reach the heights of the previous Toxic Avengers film, but I like what they accomplished within this movie, giving us a more modern approach to that character, comedy that did work. It had its camp throughout. Like, some moments were absolutely stupid and just made me laugh, and then at times you could tell like some of the jokes were a little more intentional and they were more thought out versus some scenes that just seemed very stupid and ridiculous. But also the supporting cast added to the film much more than other movies have before. But it's the heart that's really separates it from the other films, that connection between the stepfather and the stepson, and giving it that purpose as well. Also looking at this company and the toxic waste and this corrupt CEO, which is more in line with the previous Toxic Avengers film. I feel like it's been a plot that has already been used before. I think for you to really appreciate this movie, you have to understand where the previous films have come from. If I didn't see the previous 4 Toxic Avenger films, this film I'd be really confused with what they were trying to accomplish, but understanding the foundation of that franchise allowed for me to really appreciate this movie. But it's also a good looking film. From its action to its gore to the costume designs, the makeup, it all feels very polished within this film despite being bloody and dirty throughout. So if you are a fan of the Toxic Avengers films, I do recommend checking out this reboot with Peter Dinklage. Just go into it knowing that it's not going to reach the heights of those previous movies. It may be better than some of them, but those films were absolutely campy and completely stupid and made no sense for most of the time. Just body fluid everywhere constantly throughout those movies. The jokes and camp are within this movie. I didn't expect it to be those previous movies. I like that it was its own thing, but also paying homage to what came before it. I'm gonna go ahead and give Toxic Avenger a B. Thank you guys for checking my review for the reboot of Toxic Avenger. Have you guys seen it by chance? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more up and coming content like this. My name is Justin Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy.